Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right. So, of course, the NBA season is back. And as you guys know, last year, if you followed me, I had every team laid out flat. I knew every roster, studied every rookie, and I knew pretty much everything there was to know about every roster at the beginning of the season last year. This summer, I'm going in blind. I didn't do all that homework because these teams were incomplete. We knew that the market was locked up for the summer, and so I didn't think that it made any sense to study teams because I didn't think teams were really done being created. So as this summer progressed and I started realizing no trades were made, it started to become clear to me that I probably should have done that. But nevertheless, here we are. The season has begun, and I only moderately know some of these teams. So this is not how I like to start it, but what I want to do is talk about a few things that I do have some understanding about, and maybe some players that I think turn some teams into different looks, I guess you could say, provide a dynamic that maybe wasn't there last season that I think could help them, and maybe isn't being talked about. Specifically, a guy in Miami by the name of Nikola Jovic, not to be mistaken with Nikola Jokic, but Nikola Jovic, who is also a very, very talented player. I'm not sure if he's from Serbia, but he's close to 7 feet. He can shoot very, very well from what I've seen. And now that I've studied a little bit of his game, a little more so of what it is that he brings to the table, I now realize that this is basically a 7-foot point guard. And he loves to play make, like literally loves to play make. He can ball handle, and like I said, shooting is definitely a strength. So when you consider that dynamic, his height, his weight, and his length, and you consider that he's a ball handler, and you think about what Miami needed last year. Miami needed 3-point shooting, offense, somebody who can bring offense and defense together like Jimmy Butler, because they were having struggles getting offense. Bam Adebayo is a fantastic defensive player, but they lean on him too much for offense, and he just doesn't provide. So what they needed was somebody with size who could stretch the floor, assist with rebounding, and find ways of playmaking so that they can have more shooting come out of players like Kyle Lowry, who can get shots off, and get more out of players like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and find ways of utilizing those guys, to their advantage. They always have a system that's pick and plug. You don't necessarily have to, have too much changes applied to players as they come in and out of their system. It's pretty much the same system no matter who's playing. And I just look at the type of player that Jovic is and realize very clearly that he fits just fine in what the Miami Heat need for what it is that they've lost. I think about PJ Tucker, who's now elsewhere. And the fact that they now have the minutes at that position, the 3 spot, 4 spot. I think about how positionless the league is at this point and how important a player like Jovic is, a ball handler with that type of height. I think about what's coming down the pipeline when you consider guys like, Wembanyama and all these guys, Evan Mobley and stuff like that, and how important it is to have size on the floor. Think about in Orlando and all the size and length that they have. The Miami Heat also have now added a huge player who can be on the floor up and down the roster at different positions, looking to make others better and contribute to the offensive end. And of course, the Miami Heat need guys who can score, who can stretch the floor. So that is just exactly what they need. And somebody who can help Bam, on the inside. Even though Jovic is probably a perimeter player, at the end of the day, he's a 7-footer. So he's going to be able to get to 50-50 balls and things of that nature, jump ball situations, temp ball situations, scoring and things of that nature to get Bam involved. And most importantly, another weapon for Bam to also find, because Bam is an underrated facilitator as well. He's somebody who earlier in his career was capable of getting a triple-double. This will allow him more easy assist opportunities because of the efficiency of a player like Jovic. So I think, honestly, before too long, Jovic will have basically PJ Tucker's minutes. If they're doing things correctly, he's going to get pretty much all those minutes. Now, he's not PJ Tucker, totally different player. But when you consider PJ's a big guy, Jovic is taller. So that helps. I really like the fact that they're incorporating size. You think about some of the other guys that they had on this team last year. I don't know why I want to say Maxi Kleber. I believe Maxi Kleber plays for the Dallas Mavericks, but it's another guy whose name has a Max in it. who's now again back with the Miami Heat. They were using him defensively. He was missing a lot of shots last year, but also did a lot for them defensively here and there. I don't know why his name isn't coming to me, but the point is you can add him to the mix, and Jovic to me would be an upgrade from him. You know, he's still there, obviously, so you're going to use them together, but in terms of who, you know, you can say, okay, that's a person that you can put on the floor and give you some of those same dynamics, but even at a higher level is what I imagine Jovic can do. So I just look at that Miami Heat. Obviously, you're considering Jimmy Butler. I don't know why my mind isn't giving me Jimmy's name right away, but clearly Jimmy's down there to play make as well. So when you look around at what they actually have, what I see is more offensive continuity and more spacing of the floor. They had a hard time putting those shooters on the floor because they couldn't get defensive play out of them. And I think Jovic, as a tall player, could probably help more so with that, even if he's not defensively gifted. And I'm not certain if he is or not, but just in case he's not, you still expect the dynamic will be fine once he gets into that lineup, especially if you put him at like the 2, you put him at the 1, you put him at the 3. He's going to be a matchup nightmare. So if he pops away, I think he can pop. And he looks like he has a ridiculous amount of talent already. And he looks like he's a player that you can kind of put into pretty much any system because of his size and skill set, his shooting ability. If he's as good as I think he is, he can make the Miami Heat a different type of contender this year than they were last year. Obviously, they were very, very good last year, but some of the issues they were having scoring the ball, I just don't think they'll have those same issues if that type of player is in the lineup for like 25 and 30 minutes a game. You're just not going to have as many issues scoring, and you're not going to have as many issues with some of the stuff that they were just ultimately having issues with scoring the ball. The same thing, basically scoring more than anything is what they need from him. So when I think about pieces like Lauri Markkanen, who are going to be able to stretch the floor, Utah obviously, different players that you just need. I think about what the Lakers would need right now. Nikola Jovic would be exactly what we need right now. Like he is the piece that you can come in and just get that continuity that keeps everybody playing well, keeps everybody in rhythm, but also is keeping your efficiency high when he takes shots as well. So I don't want to jump out the window. I still have more homework to do, but judging from what I've seen, this is a real player, man. Like a player that, if given the right amount of minutes, will be a Rookie of the Year candidate, especially if he's allowed to facilitate and kind of have a little ball handling duties. So you're going to give up some things defensively if you do what I have in mind, which is put him on the floor with all the best shooters and let him be the facilitator in that rotation. You put him on the floor with Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and mind you, we're not playing defense in this lineup, but we're shooting threes and we're not missing at all. And we're making free throws, and we still have a lot of size on the floor. You put Bam down there. Bam can shoot the 3 a little bit. Doesn't have to. Maybe you rotate another different type of player down there. And all this is happening while you're getting rest for Jimmy. And so I think the Miami Heat are significantly deeper if you consider the dynamic this guy could bring to the offensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what Spoelstra's going to do, if he's going to have a regular rotation role or if they're going to bring him along slow. But I don't think they have to bring him along slow, looking at what it is that he seems to do. I don't think you have to bring him along slow. In fact, I think you're probably best if you get him in as your 6th man right away. That's what I think. One of the first players off the bench should be Nikola Jovic. So that was something that's been on my mind, and I think teams are forgetting about them. People are forgetting about them when considering contenders in the Eastern Conference, and I think that piece might have made them a little different. I don't know if you're better when you remove PJ from the lineup. I don't know that I can say better, because defensively I think they may have taken some steps backward. But offensively they've been struggling in the playoffs, and I'm telling you, if that dude can be an 18 to 20 point scorer, hitting 40% or something like that from behind the arc and getting assists and making other people better, Miami's going back to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going back. So that's something I want people to keep their eye on. People think the Miami Heat fell off. I don't see where that would even be the case. I don't see that. Not at all. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Who else? Told you guys Boston ain't going to fall off like that. I said it yesterday in my video. Even though I'm high on Philly, I'm not surprised Boston took it to them. They didn't lose anything that they needed to not lose in order for them to continue the dominance that they had in the finals. Um, Tatum, Smart, Brown, all these guys are there, and now the turnovers, as I said, should be cut down because Brogdon's in place. So I'm not surprised to see that they beat Philly. I'm not surprised at that at all. They're good enough to do that, and we're going to continue to see them have some success. I don't think that you got to worry about some of these teams that are had some of these scandals. I think these scandals happened far enough before the season to where they've been able to shake them off, get their first victory, and now you can see they're both of those teams with the scandals are getting off to good starts. So Celtics, Golden State, we'll see how Phoenix does tonight. But I have a good mind to think that Phoenix ain't going to struggle that much either. Continuity, all three of those teams have. The players that they've been playing with for the last 3 years still there. So, yeah, I just think that works in their favor, and I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those teams get off to winning starts. Let's see. Speaking of the Boston Celtics, Robert Williams is going to miss basically half the season. That's the new news. Read it this morning. He did have arthroscopic surgery on his knee, and they said it was going to be something that's going to take him out. He's aiming for the second half. And my thing is, if you're aiming for the second half of the season, you should probably aim for the next season. That's exactly how I look at that type of situation. And I wouldn't say that for everybody. Before a big man whose responsibilities are defensive, it's going to be very difficult for him to come in at half mass and then take on the responsibilities he's going to be responsible for. I don't think he should be trying to come back in that type of shape. I don't think so. The second half of the season can span across many months. So when he feels right, I'm sure he'll get back out there. But I'm just saying, for the piece that he is, you want to be in super shape. Because it's not just about finishing out this season. It's about making sure you don't have any setbacks for the rest of your career. And the best way to do that is to get healed up, and instead of dedicating the second half of the season to banging around and getting, further beat up, is dedicating yourself to having the strength necessary to be strong enough for the season following. As to which you can take all that punishment because you've been working out that long, healthy that long, working on your nutrition that long, etc. So it's a marathon. And if he were older, I would say, yeah, hurry it back. But since he's younger and he has many years and several contracts to consider, nah, you're too physical of a player in that season. End it. If you had more offensive, finesse game, I would say, yeah, get back out there. But for guys that got to do the rebounding and the pushing and elbows in your back and landing and blocking shots and landing funny and possibly people being underneath you when you land that type of role on your team, hell no. Hell no. Your knee injuries need to be given way more attention for players like that. Straight up. So that is something that I know for a fact. I would not bring him back. Let's see, who else I want to talk about. Those are the two teams that I really wanted to address. I think Chicago Bulls kind of in mind, just because I think there's a good chance that they're going to start the season pretty solid depending on their schedule. Only because addition by subtraction is the name of the game for the Bulls. They have an overload of the same type of player and don't get a chance to keep the right players on the floor enough. In this case, with Lonzo out, it shrinks their guard position, forward position to a space where they're going to have a better rotation than what they would normally have. Same dynamic they had last year when they were missing Ball and Caruso. So it's one of those things where it's like, whatever you think the Bulls are, until they get their full team back, you really don't know how log jam they actually are. But they're super log jam. So it's just a matter of time before you start getting used to something that you're just going to have to amend out of. And then with that being something that you're looking forward to as a Bulls fan, I would not want that. I would want us to trade players so that we can make our roster make a lot more sense. Because as long as you have Caruso, Levine, Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, who else you guys? I just picked up. I think it was Dylan Terry. It's got so many guards that need playing time. It's overwhelmingly ridiculous. Ayo Dosunmu. You see what I'm saying? All these people need the ball in their hands. All these people pretty much play like three positions. No, and they all probably are going to need to be playing for real contracts. So at some point in time, the Bulls need to understand what it is that they have and make it make more sense for themselves. Yes, you have a talented group, And maybe they can play together, but they're sacrificing too much for what it is that they're worth to you. So you got to get pieces that make more sense. And I'm going to stand on that. You're not good enough to win a championship, but you are good enough to make it through the regular season. They can win as many as 50 games. But when they get to Giannis's and the Embiids and some of these teams that have a little more continuity and bigger superstars, they get knocked off like they did last year. First round exit. So that's why I think the Bulls, they have enough to get better. And they have a whole lot to get worse if they want to go for the web. If they want to do that, they could do that. But nah, they just need to find just a bit better continuity for their cap situation so that they can have a better projection over the next several years, in my humble opinion. Good young talent, but the pieces don't fit. So that's what I think of the Bulls. What else? Yeah. And their timeline's kind of funny, too, in a way. It's almost like they got the Golden State thing going on with guys who have older timelines like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, and then guys who have younger timelines like they have in Golden State with Kuminga and Wiseman, all those guys. For them, it would be Patrick Williams, of course, the Dylan Terry piece, as I said, and all the other young guys that they have in place that just, it's like, are we trying to win or are we trying to rebuild? We're somewhere in the middle, but not quite sure. Not good enough to win, but not quite bad enough to get the lottery pick that will make us good enough to win. So, yeah. No man's land for Chicago is a no-go for me. I hate that type of situation. I look at the Atlanta Hawks. You guys heard me talk about them. I kind of feel like they're in a similar situation, but they're going for it. They've at least threw all their picks into their situation. So, yeah, I just think I want Chicago Bulls to pick a timeline. Just pick a timeline and stick to it. It's not good enough to be a good team. That's unacceptable. You got to be great or you got to be building. It's one or the other. So that's what I got to say about that. Some other teams, I'm sure, sliding across the Eastern Conference. I just honestly think the Eastern Conference is pretty dang loaded, man. You look up and down the teams. I don't know why a team like Orlando wouldn't have enough talent to make the playoffs or make a play-in tournament situation. That's God's honest truth. Some of these rosters are a bit better than what we're used to them being because they've sucked so long. They've tossed lottery picks on top of what they've had. And so some of those players were underdeveloped. And now they're a little older, should be ready to take steps forward on top of the super lottery talent. So it's like, that's the dynamic in Orlando. If Jalen Suggs can start the season healthy, which it seems like he's going to play tonight, look at it, Anthony. He's ready to step forward. He had a good year last year. You can see where the length of Bol and Bamba and the size of a Banchero and Carter, you can totally see where they're going to have success. I mean, you may not be able to necessarily fathom it because they've been Orlando for a long time, but you throw Paolo Banchero in the situation now, that's like a 30-point score. That's one of the most pure scorers in the game. And when you think about guys like Zion Williamson, you think about guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, you think about guys that are really super athletic and very heavy, impossible to stop. Paolo is that. Again, you got to deal with that type of player. So even though people don't really know that yet, you're dealing with a Blake Griffin type. He's going to jump out the gym. He's going to make plays for others. He's going to hit a lot of jump shots from both the 3 and the mid-range. He's going to do all kinds of stuff. And he's going to dish out plenty of punishment. That's what I like about Paolo. Elbows and knees, Karl Malone style. You're going to be hurting after playing this dude. And he's going to make it look really, really easy. LeBron James style, for example, but probably even more physical in some ways. He's looking to dish out punishment. He's damn near karate chopping you as he goes to the rim with all types of different moves as he continues to relentlessly come at you because it's all muscle, 250 pounds. So when you add that to Carter and Carter's ability to stretch the floor and be huge himself, he's even bigger than that. And then Bamba and Bol, who both stretch the floor. Bol's a guard, I told you. I think he's going to be a superstar if they just find a way to utilize him properly and he keeps healthy. You can't stop his jump shot no more than you can stop some of the other guys that are super tall when they shoot above their head. You talk about Wembanyama. You talk about what's my guy? Chet Holmgren, who's out for the season. Yeah, Bol has those type of skills too, y'all. He's just like that. He dribbles like that. He shoots mid-range jump shots. He pulls a fadeaway. Like all the stuff that people were excited about Wembanyama doing. Bol got that game, y'all. He has it. There's nothing that Bol doesn't have in his bag as a guard with like a 7'1" frame. And his dad, we know who his pops was. His dad has 3-point shooting skills. So why wouldn't Why wouldn't we think he has some of that himself? We can see it every time he plays. So the Orlando Magic, in my mind, legitimately have the talent to be a playoff team, and there's nothing other than health keeping them from being that. You know, especially if Jonathan Isaac come back healthy at some point, and his length and defensive ability, they got a talented team, man. Chimo Okeke, we know he can score. If he's going to be a part of a bench unit, he's like the 6th or 7th offensive scorer or something like that. That's scary, man. That's scary. So when I look at teams like Orlando, I look at teams like Sacramento, I already know that people are going to be surprised by these teams. And when I tell you I'm not at all, not at all. They're going to play well. They're good teams. Sacramento, who else? There's another team like that as well as it comes to mind. OKC, even though they don't, we talked about them earlier. They got talent. Ousmane Deng, the Williams boys, as we said, Baisley, Mann, Wiggins, obviously Shea and Giddey. They're a talented team, y'all. So at some point in time, the shift is going to have to take place. Everybody's in love with the Nets. Everybody's in love with the Lakers. Everybody's in love with the Clippers. But I'm telling you, the more able bodies are in these places, those are younger, healthier, and sometimes more talented guys. They're just earlier in their development because they just got drafted. But 7, 8 years from now, these guys may be your KDs. They may be your Giannis's, like literally. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Houston. These guys are there. They're already here. And at some point in time, the winning is coming because the talent is in them. So, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready for all this to start manifesting. I'm excited about the NBA. I think those teams are going to push past some of these teams that y'all really excited about. And I honestly think the New Orleans Pelicans may be the best team in the Western Conference. I really do. On paper, they look fantastic. Them and Memphis look better to me than the Clippers and, say, the Nets, for example, who are the teams that everybody thinks are champions. I think those two teams are better than those two teams. I really do. Denver, depends. I don't know what to expect from them defensively. If they can't guard anybody, they're not doing nothing. So that's what I look at Denver. And we talked about them with their conditioning and how those players are going to have to come back and play differently now that they have different pieces in place, Murray and Porter. So it's going to be different. It's going to be a different team they're coming back to. So that's where my head is, man. I just wanted to give y'all some rapid fire. I'm pretty sure there are other teams as well that I could give you. Indiana keeps coming to mind because I know they're going to be big players in trade, and I also know that they have that Mathurin piece. I've told you guys this. I'm going to say it now. Ben Mathurin doesn't miss much, y'all. Like, his efficiency is naturally very, very high. Free throws, three-point shooting, and in every other way of putting the ball in the hoop. He's gifted at efficiency. So how great he can actually be, who knows when you have that as your gift. And your athleticism is crazy. He has that. If you're super efficient and you're crazy athletic and you play defense and you have size, you're a superstar, right? That's pretty much what it does. That's what they do, right? They make every shot. They have the super ability. I don't see why Ben Mathurin can't develop into something ridiculous, because at the end of the day, his gifts and what it is they need, they come together perfectly. So I think if anybody has a chance to sneak up and snatch Rookie of the Year from the rest of the field, I look at the guy like Ben Mathurin and say, I don't think anybody has a better opportunity than him, because he's going to get all the shots. He's got facilitators around whom are going to get him the ball. Other efficient players like Duarte and Halliburton who are going to play smart around him. The Indiana Pacers are a team that can make a decision if they want to win or lose. Simply put, the guards that they have in place should be good enough to play at a high level. They don't necessarily have to trade Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, because they are a team that can win. When I tell you the talent they have on that bench, ain't no reason they can't win. They got to learn how to win, but we're talking about the process of a team that can start being something if they want to without doing anything else in the draft. They don't have to do anything else. They got who? Isaiah Stewart? Not Isaiah Stewart. What's the guy's name? Smith, from the Sticks is what they call him, from the Suns. That's who they have. Of course, they got Brissett still in place, and we talk about it a lot. Taylor in place. You know what I'm saying? But Tazday is still there. They got a bunch of players on their roster, up and down the roster. that can all play, all of them. So it's just a matter of the Indiana Pacers getting their mind focused on winning and stopping the process of being a losing squad looking for Wembanyama or whatever. So yeah, a team like the Pacers, if the Knicks tank, if the Bulls decide to tank, you see what I'm saying? If other teams start tanking around them, they're just gonna moonwalk into the playoffs. They're gonna be trying to lose, but if everybody else is losing, they're gonna be more talented than them. So it's gonna be a race to the bottom, y'all. You're gonna see some games where you're gonna see rotations that don't make any sense, and players that sit, twice as long as they need to for injuries, and you know what I'm saying? I think that's really what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at. It's going to be a very bizarre season because some of the teams that are going to want to suck are going to have way more talent than the teams that don't. They're going to be better than us. The Lakers are going to beat some teams that are genuinely better than them because the Lakers are going to want to win and those teams are going to want to lose. Weird season ahead, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I got to say. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.